Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Fix, mother fluffers. The fat lad Neil Pickup in the mother fluffing house, and I'm joined as always by the man down under. It's Ryan Blue Bowen. Mate, how's it going?
I'm very well, very well.
Yeah. Yay! Hey, look at me.
It took the middle of winter for it to happen, but yeah. Probably
is there any truth in that there is a record coming out with you and Fiddy?
Well, as you guys know, I'm getting into music, so you never know what could happen. I've enjoyed dabbling in trying to rap some arm wrestling stuff before. Yeah, it might happen.
There you go. the Chris Gobby rap you did a while back. You did a bit there, didn't you?
Yeah, that's it.
Let's introduce our other partner in crime. It's Raimonds Liepins, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Raimonds, how you doing, mate?
I'm gonna beatbox. I'm gonna do pretty shitty beatbox, but. It's at the end, big surprise. Me and Ryan's gonna do a new single.
And it's you with a heat wave, isn't it? You're the guy with the 30-degree temperature over there. Gets to the evening and you can't sleep.
It's very hot here. Yeah. Somehow we're dealing.
Look on the bright side. You've got like no coronavirus, haven't you? And you're allowed to do sports again. Didn't you do like a powerlifting event?
Yeah. We had like almost the same week and everything opened. I got a call from other federation. They say like, Raimonds, we're gonna do competition faster. Would you want to come? Like, okay, I would come. You know, there's we do bench press your body weight for reps, like strict controlled. You know, So I went there.
What are you weighing these days?
I weighed in 91 kilos. I weighed in 91. But now I'm 88, 87. Like day before, I really didn't care. We did podcast with Giannis and Engin, and I drink 4 beers. I ate 2 packs of chips. I'm like, I was so bloated. I went in, weighed in, and did 36 reps. So not bad for me. Not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty good going, mate. It's pretty good going. I mean, does everybody adhere to the rules very strictly there? Is it like, you know, where you got to state your weight and say, how much do you weigh? And you go, I weigh. I mean, personally, I'd probably subscribe to the Arsene Liliev way of doing it. They'd be like, Neil, how much do you weigh? I'd be like,
about 78 kilos.
Just absolutely bullshit it and then just start banging reps out and flexing when I came off. But you are a true 91 kilos, are you?
No, I'm genuinely 80, 88, 87 right now. Yeah.
So it was the beer. Beer's the devil.
I get so bloated so fast. Yeah, but if I was looking at some pictures when I was 90-something, 92 in October, and that was my biggest weight what I have ever been. But I looked like huge, and I'm like looking at the pictures. I'm like, I don't look that big, and legs. It's the legs, man. I'm doing too much of squat. I'm like, I should stop doing those things. But,
engaging argument, though, isn't it? Some people think that it's very important to have all-rounded body strength. And then there's Rob Vigent Jr.
Well, of course, it's like all the leg muscle will not help you in arm wrestling. But, you know, if you cannot get any bigger, why not? Why not?
If you were going to be designed to arm wrestle, how would you be? Would you have big legs or would you be Rob Vigent Jr.? I've always thought Rob, perfect, you know, he's like a G.I. Joe figure. He's just got no legs and just a massive upper body. It's like perfect design.
For arm wrestling, of course. If you can fill out your category. If you don't feel like you can get any bigger, you know, and there's so much weight you can really put on naturally. There's limits. So
for me on that one, like I have almost the unlimited time to train. Like I could train 6 hours a day, which means I could fit in legs. I could do all that. But for me, what governs it is neurological energy. I only have so much training time before I just burn out. And if I'm doing legs and that, I burn out before I can finish what I wanted to do on my forearm. So notice I said forearm, not forearms.
Yeah. There you go, son.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now then, let's get the episode going proper. And I think it's only fair to say there's been signs of light at the end of the tunnel. A very dark tunnel it is too, but there's been some signs that some countries are starting to come out, as we spoke about there, Ray doing a little bit of strength competition, and in the USA, we've seen some arm wrestling competitions taking place. In, I think it was Ukraine, unless they flew to Poland to do it, but I'm pretty sure it was in Ukraine because of the 3 athletes involved there. We saw like a mini super match. I'm absolutely sure that Ryan's going to have a lot to say about this, and I know that Ray will. Mate, Petrenko against my man. What the? Hey, did you see that?
Yeah.
Well, Petrenko. I got the pleasure of gripping Petrenko in my opening round of the Zloty. So, he was the one.
That's great for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hit it. You're like, I told you, motherfuckers. when he slapped Prudnik around, were you not online that day going?
Yeah, no. I get more credibility from pinning novices in a king of the table than I do even competing slightly in the Zloty tour. But Petrenko, when I remember when I did the lineup at the Zloty, Petrenko was the one guy on stage that I looked at and went, "Are we in the same weight category? Really?" Yeah, he just looked big.
Oh,
everything solid.
And I'm not 5 kilos. A face with a cricket bat and he'd spit toothpicks at you. His neck like a Tyson neck going on, hasn't he?
Yeah. It's arms attached to the neck.
It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that he's able to be right there and with the likes of Prudnik. And as we know, training pools are different to Reddy goes, but it shows you that he is right there in terms of his horsepower. He's right there. Would have been interesting for top 8 had it have happened in the 95 kilo class. Who was it? Was he meant to face your countryman? Right? Yeah.
I gave call to Raimonds already. I'm like, man, you need to step up your game. You need to step up your game. But, I will say I think the first time I really noticed Oleg was we were doing Final 8 Moldova, and he was one of the competitors, but he was lesser known. And then when we were in Arizona last year, like when this was happening, there was Kiev Cup or something in Ukraine, and he won overall. And he beat Margarin, he beat Statsuk, and every other arm wrestler who was there. And I was like, okay, there's something big coming. And I saw him in Zloty tour. I'm like, yeah, he's the favorite here, and looks pretty solid everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very static, isn't he? But very, very strong. He's not got the fluidity of Prudnik, but he's got that rigid, almost Pushkarish strength about him. Just that.
He was Pushkar's understudy, as far as I know, wasn't he? So,
Yes.
Makes sense.
And I don't know if you saw the other video. Iron Rating did video on Matyushenko was there, Denis was there, and Dadikan from Armenia, who will face John Berzenk, was there. They were sparring on table. You saw that video?
No, didn't see that one.
Okay, then after this, go and watch it. Dadikan
Ping me that link.
I saw Dadikan pulling with Steplenkov. Was that correct?
Yeah. Yes. There was Stotiev there. He just took out Matyushenko and everything else. And I think, I don't know how good John we will see, but Dadikan is a beast. He showed, we talked with Ivan. Ivan said Denis is in a great shape. When we pulled last, he wasn't that good, and now he's really good. And
is he though? He don't look it, does he? If you look at him now and you look at him when he looks nowhere near his peak in terms of physical.
Oh, no. He said he's not in his peak, but he is where Denis usually is when he's not preparing for a match. So right away, when he's starting his preparation, he said he felt very strong, and I will send you the video and we can put it in the description, maybe guys who can see it. I've
had a lot of people ask me indirectly through my affiliation with John, a lot of people have been asking me, what's John doing? Is he still preparing? Where's he at? And I know that with all the COVID stuff, I think John's happy and relaxing again at the moment. I think John's preparations will be like a 3-month preparation, and until he gets given that firm 3-month warning, he's not going to do anything out of the ordinary. That's for sure.
Yeah, because I think he still doesn't know if he can actually go there. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
Well, the US has still got some serious, I mean, not necessarily John's area, I'm pretty sure it's not too bad, but the US has still got some clusters of serious issue, don't they? I think it's still one of the worst affected places in the world, you know, so not great in that respect.
Hopefully 12 months from now, we've no one even talks about COVID anymore. We're just back to arm wrestling properly.
You're going to talk about COVID-21. Not COVID-19.
this time last year, Ray, we were in Arizona having a blast.
Yeah.
When was the last time you spoke to John?
Last time, about 2 weeks ago. I just had a chat today, and he's just relaxing. He hasn't got the foot on the pedal at all. He's coasting.
Any training? No.
Once a week with Dustin Allen is his regular training, but that's like a 20-minute session for John. That's all he does. That's once a week, 20 minutes. That's John.
He's never been the guy that's, you know, brush your teeth, let's train.
Well, that's it. Well, when he is preparing, it's maybe twice a week with Dustin.
Yeah.
And he travels around a little bit and gets some, but more of his focus is getting his diet on point. Like, he cuts out the foods that make him slow and fat and lazy. But yeah, his training on the table, I mean, he's just the same as he's always been, and he's got such a stock there that he doesn't feel like he can actually get any stronger in a short period of time. So he just runs with the connective tissue strength that he knows he has, and he just, kind of fires up mentally.
I'm going to have to do some, not that I arm wrestle anymore, but, Jesus, I've jacked my wrist up. Catching my son on a little motorcycle. He came off his trials bike, but he was going to come off quite badly. You know, when you ride motorbikes, if you ever lose control of the bike properly, and you lose it big time and the throttle sticks open when you lose it. He came off an obstacle. He has to hit the accelerator hard to like climb up on this thing, and he lost it completely, and the bike got on the back wheel, threw him off the side of the bike, but as he was falling off, he had the throttle wound open, so it's coming past me on a rock section. And he's my son. So I went for
the superhero thing and
flying dad catch, and I grabbed him. And he's on the bike. The bike weighs maybe 50 kilos, but it was doing 20 miles an hour when it passed me. So I grabbed him. It ripped my friggin' nail off. You see my nail there? Ripped my goddamn little nail off. Which hurt like a mother. But more importantly, it twisted my wrist round and over and then down. And I felt a little crack, but I've had loads of little bits of things, didn't think nothing of it, but Jesus, it's jacked my wrist up. I can't, even when I'm doing things like brushing my teeth, or, you know, when you get nerve damage, we've all had it arm wrestling, but just there, you know, on the sort of connect between your thumb and your wrist. Can't do anything. It's really pissing me off. Oh, yeah. So it's like, sometimes you'll just be picking something up, just nothing around the house, you know, or moving a chair. The other day I was moving a chair. Just went to push it like that, and it was like somebody plugged me into the mains. You know, you get that nerve, and it's like, holy, everything just switched off, so I'm going to have to, they're doing a bit of the hot and cold and the magnetic treatment on that puppy dog. Not great. Anyway, enough of that bloody rubbish. Let's speak about you, Ryan Bowen.
Oh, look here. What's going on now? What have I done? Who have I been?
I'm gonna quite cleverly connect this to a question. So it's about to get serious, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Let me have a drink.
Okay. Now then. We got our first question of the week from Jameson Base. Anybody familiar with Jameson?
No.
Okay, Jameson, here's your question, son. Hi, Neil. Love all your work. Ryan's a twat. He hasn't actually put that. That's not true. I just made that. I have a question for the Fix crew. I want to know your thoughts on how someone should approach table practice. Is there any kind of structure
that you guys follow, Ryan?
Yes, yeah. I love table time. Right now I'm in the season where I believe it's the best thing for me. I think it's the best thing for most people most of the time. There's only a few seasons where table time isn't. So yes, table time, depends on where you are as an arm wrestler. Are you a novice? Are you a pro? Like, what are your goals as to how you structure your table time? One of the things that I'll straight away, squash is that you can't, some people say, how can you do table time as often as 3 or 4 or 5 times a week? It's impossible. And straight away I want to say, the first thing and the most important thing is that you do table time responsibly. Most novices, when they first turn up, they're just redlining for the pin. That, you can't do that often. You're going to blow yourself up. Maybe if you're Todd Hutchins level conditioning, you might be able to do that. But, and if you're not, you're going to blow yourself up. So table time structure for me is cup and back pressure driven most of the time. Cup, rotation, drag is where I spend most of my time. And I actually like to ramp my table time effort from 100% down to about 70 to even down to like 30 to 70% is where I will work. I will work with my opponents there, and we will play a game of manipulating the lactic acid in our opponent. And I actually find that at 30 to 70% effort and not ever trying for the pin, but constantly trying to force the opponent to just give up, but in a soft, fluid motion, is the best way to get table time. And you'll be able to do that for hours, and you'll be able to do that every day, and you'll learn how to move technically, and you'll rehab your injury, and you'll friggin' become a badass if you do that consistently.
Yeah, you really will. I couldn't agree more.
That's my structure for table time.
I think another really, really important thing, just to build on that for Jameson and anybody else out there, really, is that one of the key things that you need to focus on, guys, when you're training table time for arm wrestling to improve is elasticity. Elastic limits are key. And what I mean by that is working within your governance on bone line. So if you're getting into situations where you're stretched out past your elastic limit, you only need to do that a couple of times, once really, if you do it with any kind of power in there, your session's really over with. You'll never get, number one, you may get injured. Number two, even if you don't get injured, it will write off that session. So it's going to be a very short, non-productive session for you. So what Ryan and Ray in previous episodes have both spoken about is having that trust and that diligence with the person you're training with. That is fundamental to success. Cue the pussy in the background, right? Look at that, eh? Raimonds gets it all right. What are we doing wrong, son?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I just live my life to the fullest.
I also got to say, it says, if a black cat crosses your path, you're going to have good luck. Well, that went behind you, so you're fucked. Back to what we're saying now. If you've got someone who you really trust in training, it's going to allow you to develop more positions, more fundamental strengths, much cleaner and for a longer time. And one of the things you can develop there is if you're looking to train, because everybody needs to train to the brink without going over that brink. So you've got to get to a situation where your training partner and yourself understand that once you get to a certain limit, you can literally let everything off. Just shut it off. So if you're training, for example, to stop somebody's top roll, if you're training to prevent somebody's hook and it goes past, if you were on a reversing top roll, once they get you hooked, just completely back off. That gives your opponent nowhere to go. They're going to get that message in the head of, okay, that was it, I did enough, and go again, that repetition. Don't hang in there till you're stretched out and twisted past your elastic limits. You're going to create problems for yourself in numerous areas. Just a really bad look. Raimonds, I think you had something to add there as well, didn't you, mate?
Yeah, when we talk about the structure, it really depends on where you are. So for beginners, I usually say, well, the problem with beginners is they want to beat everyone. They just you're teaching them and doesn't matter that you're teaching them, they want to just arm wrestle you. So for beginners, I usually say, well, I show how they should be looking when they're doing their motion. And when they're breaking up, I'm like, okay, let's start again, just to get that basic technique, the good technique. Because if they start to arm wrestle and every time they open up, like the angle opens up, they finish like this, it's very hard, like year later, to start to teach them, like, well, hold this strong, move, don't open it up or yourself. So for us, it's always get those basic things as quickly as you can. As soon as they start going overboard, that's the problem. And then you have to explain, like, if I take your hand, like, that's a stop. You shouldn't arm wrestle when I take your hand. Let's set up again. Don't let me do it. Try and hold it. Because every time you're like here, you're not actually doing something. I don't want my arm wrestlers to be flop wrist pressers. I want them to know at least good basics. So we always set up some rules, like if you lose your hand, if your angles open up, if you basically your move all away from your arm, or you start pushing with your shoulder inwards and your arm, like all those dangerous positions, it's a no-no, and we don't mess with that. That comes as a structure for beginners. When we talk about structure for pros, we talked about a lot of things, but when you're preparing for a match, for something, you want to work on your technique, So we will do drills, and like Neil said, the drill will end when I get position where I want. If I hook you and you don't want me to you don't want to get hooked, I hook you, we stop, we reset it, and again. So I get the drill of hooking, you get the drill of defending. If we continue pursuing, one of us will get more, like lose endurance faster, get weaker, blah, blah, blah. And if we know the guy that you're facing in super match, we're going to imitate that on table. Again, not like super heavy, but work out from those positions. That should be the structure of arm wrestling practices. Practice shouldn't be competition. Sometimes it should, and like for me, it's easy to say because I'm like one of the strongest guys in Latvia, so it's very easy for me to work with everyone. It's I can, like 99% arm wrestlers I can hold and control and whatever, but those who I can't, I will try to get better of them, understand where are their flaws, So I think you should and do everything, but you should understand when to do it. I will not go hard, like negative tension when I get in position and someone opens me up, like when it's very close to competition. I will arm wrestle with a 50-30 novice before competition and feel fine the next day. So the structure should be building on your experience, and but I think you should do everything. It is competition, and it's not at the same time, and it's very hard to explain especially for an outsiders. Do you guys agree with me?
Yeah,
I think 100%. Yeah, sorry, Ryan, go on, mate.
No, I was just saying, yeah, it is. It's a very complex thing. I think if you the more you realize it is a combat sport as much as it is a strength sport, the more you'll be able to understand. Look at what other combat sports do. UFC guys aren't knocking each other out in each session. They're not going for the kill.
Yeah.
Okay, so same thing with our sport. It's a combat sport as much as it is a strength sport, and therefore treat it as such. And it's a search for evolution, and to be able to evolve quickly, you need to not be injured, and you need to be able to experience all these different positions like Neil talked about with elastic limits and all that sort of stuff. Working intelligently across all the full spectrum of positions that you're going to need for your development is the way to go.
Just another point to add on that, and if you're new to arm wrestling, if you're new to this channel, or if you're not familiar with Ray's channel, with Ryan's channel, Voice of Arm Wrestling will probably have covered very, very similar things in some of their extensive library of technical tuition. So get over to Voice of Arm Wrestling and check that out. Ryan's channel is vastly, it covers every aspect. A lot of the time you'll see these guys work in positions in training exactly as we're describing. And what you'll see from both those demonstrative platforms is that a great deal of arm wrestling practice at a higher level can be short range movement. We're not talking about, if you sort of envisage the top of your arm wrestling table and you're 180 degrees, you've got your half moon there, okay? If you're sort of concentrating firstly on above the table, okay? If you break that down into increments, 20 degrees would be a big increment. 10 and 5 degrees more realistically, a lot of the time you'll break that down into that kind of area. We're talking an inch, 2 inch movements, small movements to gain the position. A lot of the time the win comes in an inch, the win comes in 2 inches. You know, that's the reality of the situation. So try not to get to, one of the biggest frustrations I find is when you go to new clubs and you'll see guys going for big sweeping movements. That's fine if you are stronger, way stronger than your opponent, way faster than your opponent. You've got some very significant advantage. For those types of situations, truth be known, you don't need to train a great deal. If you get up there and you find that you're far stronger than your opponent, you're not going to have to do too much training. When your training is going to really come into effect is when you're against a guy who is on a par with you. When you've got parity strength, parity technical fruition, there's where you're going to be tested. That's where you're going to see the benefit of the training, of the incremental wins that you've been able to practice. So there's 2 areas. Number 1, break it down into small, bite-sized chunks and address that until you feel very comfortable. The other area which is really important is getting a command of transitions. I cannot emphasize enough how important transitions are. If you think you're a good arm wrestler, yet you can't transition fluidly, then you're missing a huge area. And I mean transitioning in both ways. So transition from the press to the hook, to the top roll, to come from weird angles, weird positions. Try to break that down so you're working inch by inch on recovering position. Then when you've done that, and here's an additional little tip for you, okay? Once you've dealt with and you've burned out a lot of the options, which I don't think you ever do because it's just a continuous cycle, it's like ring rust. But once you've burned out that upper half, go to the lower half. What's below the table? And by that I mean positioning of your feet. If you're not thinking about where your feet are, you bloody well should be. Because you maximise your strength through your foundation. You're building a house, it starts at the foundations. Do not underestimate the positioning of your feet in defence and attack. So number 1, work them with the perfect foot positioning. Try the same thing with your feet in different positions to apply and allow you to apply different angles via different techniques. And I promise you, you will be very, very surprised by the results. Just to build on that, sorry mate, I'll dive in on this in 1 second. To build on that, once you've done that, work transitions when you didn't get to the position you want to be. How many times have you seen a guy go flying for a top roll, not make the top roll, he's put into a hook, and he's beaten very quickly. Then the guys go again, and he sets his position and his feet for the hook, and he's right there in the match with the guy. That shows you one thing, that he just didn't have his body alignment and wasn't able or advanced enough to transition. The best guys in the world can make that transition above and below the table fluidly. And that's a constant chase. You'll never get there, but it's something to pursue. Sorry, mate, go.
No, I love what you just said there. And one thing that I constantly strive to achieve in my own head is that the realization that I've never worked it out. Never quite worked this sport out, and I always want to work it out more than I currently know. And I love what you said about look below the table as well. It's amazing how much an inch difference in your foot placement or your hip placement or anything like that. It's amazing the difference it makes to what's up here. It's phenomenal. And if you just don't think to realize that, you won't become the arm wrestler you can be. And like I said before, this is a combat sport that requires a hell of a lot of strength, and every part of your body, right down to your toes, matters on this. And so, and that comes back to table time structure for me. The reason it's so good to do it at 30 to 70% is because you can experiment more in that effort range. As soon as you go up to 95% effort range, you're doing very broad strokes, very singular movements, and you can't practice these little micro adjustments, and you can't feel the benefit or the change in your body from those adjustments. So, yeah, 100% behind you, and couldn't agree more.
I think a really, really important consideration with all of this, if you look at all sports at a very high level, it's funny, I was watching the UFC at the weekend, and if you've been involved in a little bit of ground fighting or even striking, it doesn't matter what aspect, you'll often find that anybody who's a higher level striker, or if it's a grappler, a high level grappler, will often throw feints. If it's a grappler, they'll look to go for something, knowing that they're not really going for that. What they're looking to do is distract you and make you think, okay, he's going to go and try a dart. He's going to try and set something up. Then they'll transition into another move, which flows naturally from that. Don't think that the same can't apply in arm wrestling and should apply in arm wrestling. You can put pressure into one area. You can even tee up an area with your foot positioning, set for a completely different area. And as Ryan says there, suddenly transition, and the effect you will get is monumental. I've often pulled guys and thrown what I used to call a tracer round. So I'd test an area, then the next hit, I'd know that I could get the guy that far, but if I didn't transition at that point, they'd beat me, they'd stop me, hook me and beat me or whatever it may be. So I would set up the position, I'd hit them very hard into the hook, and before you know it, I'd gone to a different application of pressure and finished the guy quickly. Teeing up, throwing tracers, throwing feints is huge. It is really, really big, and it's overlooked by, I'm going to say 95% of arm wrestlers.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
All warfare is based on deception, Sun Tzu.
Yeah.
And it's true. All warfare is based on deception.
Neil, I'm really glad you said 95%, Neil, because Jordan and I have had this conversation with each other many times, and we sound arrogant when we say it, but I'm glad I just heard you say it. I still think the majority of arm wrestlers don't apply this full approach. I think so many of them just say within the realms of basic level combat that strength is enough. But I see those 5% of guys that add more to that, and they're the guys who consistently are weaker than their opponents yet still hang with them. And I do think that there will be a day, maybe 5-10 years from now, where the sport has grown enough, where there's more money, where to be at the top of this game, you will need both the strength and...
Oh, without question. It's an evil... Let's talk about, certain arm wrestlers, certain people have gone in, and I'm not going to name names, but certain people have gone down the road of trying to assess an arm wrestler's level. So they'll say, okay, this guy's a level 3, he's a level 5. It's far more complicated than that. It's not just about level. Don't confuse an arm wrestler with someone who gets results in arm wrestling. They're two different things. Okay? Not always, but often, two completely different things. You can have someone who is, if you're level 5, your top guy. Okay? You can have a level 5 presser who's a top roll wanker. They can't top roll to save their life. Does that mean they're a great arm wrestler? Or does it mean they're really, really good at getting a result in arm wrestling? If you've got an ace move, doesn't make you a great arm wrestler. Makes you great at an aspect of arm wrestling and getting a result in arm wrestling. You might win a shitload of arm wrestling competitions. A good arm wrestler is someone who is able to show absolute technical prowess in all areas. That is an arm wrestler. There are a lot of guys who've won arm wrestling competitions that aren't necessarily great arm wrestlers. And that's the thing. When you get a guy who is well-rounded and strong and all those things, you've got John Brzenk.
Yeah.
That's your difference maker. So if your true goal, what I would say is that you can make up deficits from one or other area. You can not be that great an arm wrestler, but just strong as hell. Or you can be not as strong, but a magnificent arm wrestler with good tools, and you can make up deficits. I've talked a lot about the guys that are long-levered, rangy athletes. They're the most difficult people to pin down because they've got all the advantages in the world in an area that makes it hard to get hold of them. If they've got speed and great leverage, they're dangerous,
Yeah.
They're dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you can't get hold of them. That's why Vitaly Latin, I have no doubt, is nowhere near as gym strong as Levan. And a lot of other the guys that he beats. But he'll annihilate most of them and gave Levan a fright early on, you know?
Yeah.
So just look at yourself as an athlete. Look at what your advantages in the game are. Are you a person that's extremely strong? And you've got to be honest with yourself in these situations. Don't look at yourself and think, you know what? I'm a fabulous, flexible, classy arm wrestler. If in fact you're not, you're rigid, your leverage is restricted, but you're strong as hell.
Yeah.
If you're really, really strong,
take Lachlan, me, and Jordan as an example. I'm halfway between the two. Lachlan's super strong, not very fluid. Jordan incredibly fluid, not very strong, and I'm smack bang in the middle of the two of them. And it's fascinating watching each of us try to work out how to progress best. Lachlan right now is in a season where he's like, all right, I got to stop trying to be so strong. I need to learn to move. And Jordan's in the season where, like, I need to get some power. and I'm sitting in the middle. So.
The good thing is you can always improve on aspects where you're bad at. You can always improve on something. You can always build, and your stock will rise. So
it's a constant evolution. Just by doing these things, you will get better. But I think one of the biggest things is within your approach to table time, going back to sort of the question we were answering here, be patient with yourself. Rome was not built in a day, and neither will your arm wrestling career be. You're not going to get to a situation where you're going to make massive gains overnight in these areas. Sometimes, particularly if you're working. Oh, here we go. Rant of the frigging podcast. Here's the other one. When you're doing this, we spoke about having a training partner, stroke partners that you can trust. Well, here's another angle to that. If you're the guy, right, that at your club you got 10 other guys that you can dominate, and you are dominating them in training, don't do that. That is not helping you, and it ain't helping them. So many times I'll watch clips of clubs training, or I'll go to clubs, been to clubs, watch people training, and you'll get the guy that he's got a fella there, and in his mind, you can tell that this guy thinks, I'm letting this guy work. I'm letting this guy work. No, you're not. You stood there stonewalling the dude, and he's jumping, trying all angles, and you're just holding him in one spot. You're giving him nothing on the hand and wrist. You're not letting him get to a position where he can apply any kind of fluid technique. You're not instructing him. That is not helping you, and it's not helping him. If you can dominate a guy that easy, then grip him lower. Put yourself in a more difficult position with the grip. Okay? Compromise areas of your game in order to make them feel more comfortable on their understanding that they're not going to hammer you either. Work with a little bit slower movement.
There's a few little tips that I've helped put with people like Lachlan, people that are instinctively very rigid and struggle to be elastic and fluid. Drop a finger off in your cup. Drop 2 fingers off in your cup. So you're containing someone just like this. Grip them like that, and then you'll be forced to go, oh, hang on a second, you'll be forced to become more fluid. So use that. If you're the stronger guy and you need to learn to be fluid, drop fingers off until you get the feeling of, okay, now I'm fluid, then you can return your hand back to normal and be a fluid-based, stronger guy. But yes, you need to be fluid and elastic, big time. Even my son Bradley worked that out. When he goes to school, and like, he said to me, oh, Dad, I have to use my training arm wrestling because they can't do anything otherwise. So he's already gripping his mates that he could stonewall and just go boom, and he's just floating around with them. He's teaching them to arm wrestle. He's six years old, so just through that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is great, but it's also, it's exciting because when you get, someone who's been involved in the sport from a technical perspective for 20 years, Bradley the Vanilla Gorilla in the mother house. How you doing, dude? There he is right there. Hey.
Hi, Bradley.
Hello.
We've just been hearing about you, mate.
Yeah, sit up, mate, so you might. Bradley's been undefeated in his arm wrestling for quite a while. It's cool. He's doing well, aren't you? And honestly, at this age, his hand strength, it's just so noticeable how the environment of arm wrestling has translated into his little body already. His hand strength is just, his cupping and like the foundation of arm wrestling for a kid, if you want to learn that, for me it's just been bend your wrist, drag them closer to you and lean over. That's the foundation that we work on. And you give the kids training strength at school, don't you?
Now, imagine a situation though where you've got kids like Brad in 15 years. You won't want to walk past him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can't beat that. Tom Holland is a pretty good example of that guy.
Okay.
Tom Holland was pulling as a puppy, and that's a very complete young man. And he's comfortable where it's uncomfortable. Bad spots. He can be really, really dug in, ultra supinated, just bodies develop that way. Flexible as hell, And those are the guys to watch, the people that have been doing it from a young age and have immersed themselves in the sport. Oh, what a weapon. What a weapon that is. So hopefully, Jameson, we covered a little bit of that within the answers there. The main thing is, though, guys, seriously, any questions you do have like that, they can be training related, they can be match related, they can be any aspect. Keep them coming. Let us know. Either ask them in the comments or PM Ryan, PM Ray, PM myself. We do check the comments for questions, though. All of us go on there and have a look, So make sure that you let us know what you want us to cover off in here, and we'll try and cover off the best we can. Another one before we go on to our next episode, though. Ray, we got a lot of feedback from your comments on the steroids after the last show. Have you had much feedback on that as well? No, it's quiet. Why do you always send me this? I'm the guy that gets all this. They always send me the questions.
No one sent me any. I think people on my channel already know where I stand, and I have said it so many times that they're like, okay, yeah. We
got one here. Get this, okay. Spot on, Ray. What are your thoughts, Neil, Ray, and Ryan? If, let's say, in talk of steroid use, there should be steroid tests everywhere, not without any doubt. Just let's make a tournament only for people who are using gear, and at the same time, natural competition. So a number of people have talked about this before. So only gear users fight against gear users and naturals against naturals. And is that perfectly fine? There is no cheating involved. It's fair, as everybody knows what they're doing. And the question goes on there to lots of aspects. But I think one of the biggest things within that is, you'd have to say that that's a very trusting attitude that people wouldn't use PEDs if there was a steroid-only competition, because I just don't believe that's the case. I think people who want to use PEDs will use them.
There already is unofficially. I mean, the fact that the Nemiroff's body it's public that it isn't tested. That is just as good as saying, guys, if you want to use it, you can. I wouldn't ever want to see a tournament where they enforce the use of steroids. That would be kind of crazy. Like, hey, you're clear.
In old Pride days, MMA, they was like, they encourage in a Pride in Japan to use some stuff. Yeah.
So that'd be kind of crazy, but we've kind of already got that in the Zloty Nemiroff route and the IFA WAF route. It is that. The other thing is, like I said, I'm here in the Australian scene. We are affiliated with the Australian Anti-Doping Authority, but we, as a federation, don't have the funds yet because our sport isn't recognised by the government, so it's not subsidised. So we're paying 10 grand a pop to test someone. We're still investing that 10 grand in trying to grow the sport, but there will hopefully come a time where recognition does happen, and the federations that have that, they're already in a place where they're testing. As Raimonds has told us, he's been tested 1 million times, and the Latvians do. On Christmas Eve, they get a call and they have to go and piss in a cup. So, we've already got the line, and we already know.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't know. I think the guys already who are watching this channel know WRPF. Kirill Sarichev created his world, Raw Powerlifting Federation or something. And they're doing powerlifting competition where it's tested and non-tested in the same event. And they get money prizes for both. And it's like you can go on this side and just face killers, or if you're natural, you can be here and still do pretty good or world records, and eventually some of them will get tested, not everyone. I think, but there's always going to be someone who will jump in the other pool, he's like, I was clean for 2 months. I feel like I'm whatever. But if they would do it, and if the guys would admit it, I have no problem with it. But again, it would still take away from guys who are natural and are super good, better than the guys on gear. It will take away from them. Because if you're jumping in this pool, you're suddenly, you're one of the users. And even if you're not, and it's... Yeah. Like Ryan said, we already have it. We don't need to make this.
The problem with asking people to publicly admit that they are is that society doesn't yet accept it. Ultimately, it is an illegal thing, in most states around the world. Yep. So no one's going to admit it. They're going to lose third-party sponsors for the tournament potentially, and they're going to be publicly shamed. So we're never going to see those tournaments that are clearly non-tested. We're not going to see those athletes ever come out and say, yes, here's my, like some of them do. They take that chance and they get credibility among steroid users for doing that. But I think the very vast majority of steroid users are never going to come clean because of the risk of what the society reaction to it. So yeah, we just have to kind of keep it as it is.
Like you said, it's illegal in most countries. You can get in big trouble.
Yeah.
For some sports, and we all know those sports, I'm like, how are they going? I'm like, that's so weird for me. How are they going? But yeah.
So if for those of you who did send in, and there was a lot of questions that I got following the last episode and the discussion around steroids. We're not shying away from answering those guys. I honestly believe that if you watch the episode back and you watch what we just spoke about then, I don't think there are really many stones that we left unturned in that respect in terms of what our stance around that is. If you still feel that there is like a crying baby that we haven't answered, let us know. But I don't want to kill the subject to death unnecessarily. I think we've made our stance very, very clear on that. Again, not trying to sort of dance around the topic at all. I think we took it on quite fully. And we'll, hopefully that satisfies everybody on that subject. Ladies and gents, that brings us to the end of this episode of The Fix. Quite a serious discussion today.
Flex, Brad. Yeah, there it is.
Get it flexed. Ladies and gents, if this is your first visit to the Supernatural Strength channel, hope you like what we do. And if you do like what we do, like, share, subscribe. If you want to see more of the very sexy man that is Raimonds Liepins, where can these guys find you?
Voice for Arm Wrestling, baby.
Yeah, Voice for Arm Wrestling, baby.
The role, I just keep hearing the Rolls Royce of arm wrestling. I think that's
Rolls Royce of arm.
Killing you.
Yeah. Oh, there's Brad. Yeah, and you can check me and Brad out. Ryan Blue Bowen. Plenty of stuff on there. YouTube.
Of course, you can look at that.
Good on you, mate.
Ladies and gents, if you enjoyed the show, thank you for taking the time out to tune in. And, be safe out there. Still some crazy times, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, as we said earlier on today. We'll see you on the next episode of The Fix. Until that time, you and your family stay safe and take it easy, please.